Meet Michael Gibson, Canadian writer, director, and programmer, responsible for the gorgeous art you see before you and such masterful dialogue as,
"I warned you she was fruitier than a case of oranges."
In 2000, he partnered with negotiation specialists Frank Handy and Alan Stitt to form Zap Dramatic, a division of Alan's company. They developed courses and other interactive tools for education and training. But today we're looking at Mr. Gibson's magnum opus, the interactive drama called Ambition. Let's get this out of the way now. Yes, this art style is atrocious, notoriously so. Character faces look downright ugly, they're drawn inconsistently, the proportions are off, everybody looks deformed. It's just bad. It's not even a limitation of the era's technology. There are plenty of other Flash animations from this same period that look way better. So it just seems like laziness and lack of skill. You gotta use your imagination like we're on the NES. Whether out of cheapness or budgetary restraints, it seems they never hired an actual artist for these. They all look like poor trace jobs of real photographs. So yeah, I know it's an eyesore, but just try to keep an open mind. We're here for the story after all, which, as mentioned, is interactive. However, don't mistake this for an actual branching path adventure game. We're not dealing with Telltale or Quantic Dream. There's pretty much only one correct dialogue option every time. There's slight variation, but the choices that don't end in failure all lead to the same outcome. You could argue there technically are multiple endings, but they're really just game overs. Sometimes it'll look like you're making progress without knowing you've locked yourself into a bad outcome. At that point, the game's basically toying with you until you fail the objective or straight up get murked. Even options that seem to make sense don't always work out. So even if you're smart and have a good understanding of human psychology, you basically just have to gamble. And if you're in the comment box right now writing some crap like,
"Are you serious? I beat this game when I was an embryo. Elite hacksaw skills."
I'm telling you right now, no one's gonna see it. With that said, I won't be going over paths that lead to game overs. I'm only recounting the canon story. Alright, episode 1, The Desperate Dad. The titular antagonist of this episode is a man named Ted. He barges into his ex-wife's job with freaking dynamite around his waist looking for her.
Sir, you can't.
Where is that crazy woman?
Excuse me, couriers.
There's nobody home.
Freeze.
You put that gun down or I blow us all to hell. I'm counting to 3. 1, 2.
So the first character we control is a cop named Jim. He lowers his sidearm and tries to calm Ted down.
Now why don't you tell me what's going on?
There's nobody home. She's trying to frame me, Bridget. I didn't do it. You don't believe me. Nobody's gonna believe me. You think I'm crazy, don't you? Do you think I'm crazy?
I don't know if you're crazy or not, but the dynamite scares me.
Are you scared? Are you scared of me?
Yes, I'm afraid of getting blown up, aren't you?
I don't care. If you knew what I've been through, you'd understand.
Yeah, so the dialogue and character decisions are quite unrealistic. According to Ted, he put his kids to bed, had some drinks, and passed out. But when he woke up, the kids were missing and blood was everywhere.
That's horrible. No wonder you're so upset. I'd be upset too.
Don't patronize me, you sanctimonious pig. You get that Bridget out here with my kids, or I'll blow us all to hell.
Do you know how to get a hold of Bridget?
She hasn't been in for 3 days, and there's no answer at her house.
Liar.
That's the truth!
You know where she is.
Help!
Think about your kids.
Yeah, where are my kids? I've got to find my kids. I'm not crazy.
I need a cigarette.
Now get ready for one of the most memorable lines in this whole thing, at least for me.
Lord, I know I don't deserve it, but if you'd put a mattress truck beneath me, I'd wash your feet. I'd wash the feet of anybody you told me to, Lord.
And would you believe me if I told you it actually happens? Tyler Perry wouldn't even write that. Episode 2, The Hitchhiker. We're introduced to Helen and Yale, a married couple in the middle of an argument. Yale thinks Helen was flirting with another man at a party.
Get Joe.
Asked if I thought there was a solution to the conflict in the Middle East.
And what did you say?
No,
There, you see? You were flirting.
I was not.
It's code. He was really asking whether the two of you could resist the urge to get into each other's pants.
That is ridiculous.
To me, Yale is tripping, but if anyone out there actually flirts like this,
Give it up.
in any event, they see Ted standing in the middle of the highway like the lunatic he is.
Go around.
Turns out for this episode, we get to choose who to advise. And it's quite different from other interactive narratives I've played because the characters give feedback on your choices. Yeah, if you pick something outside of their character or personality, they'll just rebuff it like, nah, I'm not doing that, screw you. Perhaps I speak for myself, but I don't really like having games talk back to me.
God bless you both for stopping.
Great.
Do you want me to run the roadblock?
Yes,
Don't be an idiot.
I have a bomb. You tip off the police, I blow us all to hell.
Delightful.
What's your name?
Dead.
Okay, Ted. I don't know what kind of trouble you're in, but I can help. I'm a lawyer.
Take me to my kids and nobody gets hurt.
It's too late. If you want to see your kids, you've got to do what I say.
Now's a good time to mention Eric Satie, a French classical composer whose works are used extensively throughout Ambition. I actually have this series to thank for introducing me to him.
Hi, Angie. Put a rope on your dog, would you?
Angie?
She's a psychiatrist and police negotiator.
Then she must be Dr. somebody or other. You call her Angie?
I want everybody out of the vehicle.
If anybody moves, I blow us all to hell.
It doesn't matter whether Yale addresses Helen or Ted first, because Helen punches Yale in the face no matter what.
Dr. Killip, I'd like you to meet my wife, Helen. My beautiful wife, Helen.
Call me Angie. Your husband has a very impressive mind.
I'm going to throw up.
Oh, I thought you were attracted to my body.
You son of a bitch.
Ow! Holy smokes, I thought I had problems. Are you okay, bud? You're a hellcat.
How do you say domestic violence in Canadian?
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Are you okay?
Just like a woman. Well, wake up, sweetheart. Your actions have consequences.
Shut up, greaseball, and mind your own business.
You shut up, you wicked sprite. You're the spawn of the same devil as my ex-wife.
Now listen, you. Do not say anything bad about my wife.
Whoa, all right, I'm sorry. I take that back.
Thanks, Yale. You're beginning to sound a little bit like the man I married.
I am the man you married.
My wife can mollywop me in front of the police, but don't you dare call her a name.
Ted, I want you to surrender now so we can start the process of reuniting you with your kids.
Do you think you can do that? Can you get me back my kids?
If anybody can, I can.
God bless you.
I need a cigarette.
All right, he's coming out. Don't shoot. Ted Hadrup, you're under arrest for dangerous use of explosives, attempted murder, child abandonment.
You don't have to worry about your daddy. They're going to put him away where he won't be able to hurt you or himself.
The Hitchhiker ends with cliffhanger text as a ton of plot details are left unconfirmed. Episode 3 already, let's get it. This one's called the Psychological Assessment, oh my. We play as a forensic psychologist and we basically have to determine if Ted is sane. Again, what this actually amounts to is trial and error. There's only one correct conclusion and we have to pick the right answers to get there. Probably goes without saying, but I wouldn't recommend trying this game's techniques in real life.
Maybe you think I'm crazy, huh? Well, what would you do if you woke up to find blood everywhere and your children missing? If you had a crazy, malevolent ex-wife, would you suspect her? Would you worry about the safety of your kids?
I ask if he knows why he's here.
I'm here because it's God's will. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away.
Okay, did the Lord take your kids?
Bridget did it, my ex-wife. She's trying to set me up. She has a key. She let herself in, sprayed blood everywhere, and stole the kids.
Why?
Because she, Bridget, hates me. You're acting as her accomplice if you don't open your eyes and see the big picture of how I got here. The pursuit of truth is like an onion. You peel away one layer and you become reasonably certain you know the answer. But if you want to be really certain, you peel away another layer and suddenly you discover facts that draw into question the assumptions you made earlier. Now you have many more questions, and you're far less certain. So, you peel away another layer, and there you discover a mind-boggling array of contradictions. You become confused and frightened. Your choice is stark at this point. You either surrender to the comfort of God, the Almighty, or you peel away another layer and go mad.
Ted sticks to his claim that Bridget set him up so she could take the kids. He didn't call the cops because he figured they wouldn't believe him, and he says their concern isn't finding the truth but making quick arrests to generate revenue. However, we still need to determine if he's cognizant enough to take accountability for his part.
I am accountable for my actions. All I know is that if I remain pure in heart, the Lord will make it known to me what I should do when the time comes. How do you decide what to do?
Ted is apparently a staunch believer in God and divine preordination. He has his own ideas of morality and justice, but seemingly turns to God when he feels out of options.
I'm a simple man up against forces of evil beyond my comprehension. When the Lord is silent, I can only pray he will not abandon me again. I knew I was lost, and the window was my only escape. That is when the Lord delivered me from death for another day. Hello.
All right, let's go.
With all we've seen, we're able to conclude that Ted is not insane. Episode 4, The Tryst, Part 1. As we just saw, our conclusion was that Ted isn't insane but had a psychological break due to the horrors he woke up to.
Who was suffering from delusions?
That man.
I am not suffering from delusions, you parochial quack!
Ted, be quiet.
I'm just a wretched pawn in your game, mister, and I'm not playing!
He believes that his so-called God intervened with a mattress truck.
Do not use those bourgeois, ignorant, contemptuous tones about a blessed miracle!
Order, the prisoner while we're free.
She twisted what I've said, the sanctimonious Sally!
Ted, please.
You're fired!
The atypical dialogue always fascinated me. It's fine if Michael Gibson just has an expansive vocabulary, but fancy words like this get thrown around a lot in these games. It just reeks of the same person writing multiple characters and not really pulling it off well. Still, these games taught me a lot of new words, so I'm thankful for that. Ted gets hauled off by the cops and we get a Max Payne-esque bit of dialogue. Putting it in Comic Sans, not the best idea.
Okay, punk, let's take a look. If you make me come in and drag you out, I'm gonna be a very unhappy camper. Do you know what happens to prisoners of an unhappy camper?
So Ted escapes police custody and starts dodging bullets and running on walls like the freaking Matrix. From here, the game casually spoils a major plot development, so thanks for that. And we now have to help Yale and Angie solve a dilemma. I don't know who we're playing as for this chapter, but canonically, it seems we talk to Angie first.
Yale and I have been getting to know each other exponentially in the past few weeks. Now we've arrived at a crossroad. As you know, he's married to that Princess Helen, whose father is the senior partner in his law firm. Yale's told me he wants to leave her, but he doesn't want to annoy the old man. I understand that, but Yale's a good lawyer. I'm sure the old man would get over it. I'm not interested in being a mistress. So tonight, I want him to leave his wife and move in with me. What do you think?
Why did you choose a married man?
I didn't intentionally choose a married man. We started simply as colleagues and then became friends. He's the first man I've met that makes me not feel alone. I love him.
I ask if she thinks Yale is happy the way things are.
Yes, I'm afraid he is. I need him to make a decisive gesture tonight.
I tell her she's about to make a fool of herself, which leads to a pretty big reveal.
Well, you're right, but you see, I have a problem. I'm pregnant. He's the father, but he doesn't know anything about it.
I advise her to get a grip on the situation and go meet with him.
All right, I will. Thank you so much for helping me work this out. Here goes.
I'm in a difficult spot here. I really like Angie. She's a major babe. Beautiful, smart, sexy, and when I'm with her, I feel like a tiger, you know what I mean?
No.
Long story short, we convince him to break up with Angie and try to work things out with his wife. Primarily because he wants her father's estate, but a win is a win?
You're right. I'll call her right now and tell her I want our marriage to work and suggest we go to counseling.
Hello?
Darling, it's me.
Hello, me.
I've been thinking a lot about us, and I think we should go to marriage counseling.
What?
I want to save our marriage, Helen. I think we need to see someone.
Oh, Yale, that's the most romantic thing you've said in years.
I love you.
Don't move, I'm coming right down.
No, wait. Hello? Helen?
Working late?
Somebody is about to become a murderer. Somebody is about to die. That's usually how it works. On to episode 5, The Tryst Part 2, A Woman Scorned. Ooh, we got a nice little subtitle. It picks up right where the previous one left off, with Angie going to Yale's office.
I think you're very nervous. And I want to know why.
Helen's on her way down here. This is not a good time.
We can go to my office. She wouldn't think to look for you there.
No. I don't want to see you anymore, Angie. I'm breaking it off. It's over. Helen's on her way down and we're going out dancing.
You're going out dancing? Give me a break.
Angie, please.
Yale, I'm pregnant.
Oh. There's no doubt I'm the father? What are you going to do?
I'm keeping our baby. What do you want to do?
Full disclosure, everything you select here will have the same outcome. There's some serious illusion of choice in this one.
Right now, I've just got to get out of here before Helen catches Angie and me in the same room. I've already told you, I'm staying with my wife.
Further proving what I just said, all of Angie's dialogue options here lead to the same outcome as well. You just get to skip either one or two of them depending on which you choose.
Is there anything I can do or say to make you change your mind?
No.
Oh.
You could keep the father a mystery.
You are the only man who has slept with me, Yale.
You have my permission to sleep around a bit.
Huh?
Do you intend to make any plans to support our child?
What?
You heard me.
Boo! Boo!
I was looking all over for you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just tying up some loose ends.
You were with her again.
She screwed up my case this morning, if you want to know the truth. I was reaming her out.
What does reaming her out mean exactly?
I've got a better idea. How about I pick up some Chinese food and we have a nice romantic evening at home by the fire?
Oh, Yale! That's not funny. I'll see you. I'm gonna kill him. I'm going to beat that cheating son of a bitch over the head with a blunt object and pound his conniving brain into porridge.
For this section, we play as an office employee, and our objective is to talk Helen down.
Don't give me that frightened deer look. Say something useful.
This is so contrived and stupid. This would never happen. But anyway, we ask why she's upset, and she says she can't trust anyone, apparently. Dude, calm down. That actually jump scared me. Good God. The volume in these games is so unbalanced. We tell her it's important to have faith in our fellow humans and that trust has to be built. I seriously feel like this would not work on a distressed madwoman wielding a blunt instrument. Oh hey, that's wordplay. I raise the question of why her marriage is important to her.
My marriage is important because it's a union that's supposed to lead to something bigger than myself.
Okay, and why doesn't Yale agree?
I thought he did. Maybe he still does. But he's been, how did he call it? Bewitched by an evil woman. It's not enough to punish liars and cheaters. There's something missing in your theory. What is it?
Lady, you could probably figure this out for yourself. What are you bothering me for? Freak?
Yes. She's blinded him to the beauty and potential of our life together.
I don't care!
It's finally clear to me now. I know what I have to do. Thank you. Yale, what was it that you suggested we do earlier?
You want to go dancing?
No.
How about I pick up some Chinese food and we have a nice romantic evening at home by the fire?
That sounds lovely. I'll see you at home.
Then you just walk off like you didn't just run up on one of your father's employees, grab their personal property, and threaten to break it over their head? I get that she's supposed to be a spoiled heiress, but this is just cockamamie. Angie goes down to the lake and gets attacked by a werewolf, I guess. Then Ted pops up in a suit and monologues about freedom.
Being free means I can do what I like, I can dress how I like, and I can say what I like. Being free means I don't have to say I'm sorry. Unless, of course, I've done something wrong.
And he apparently was walking around babbling to himself like this all the way till morning.
Freedom is not just a right. Freedom is also a responsibility.
Then the camera pans down to reveal Angie's corpse. I don't know why I said that like it's a real camera. But now we're in some serious business. We got a full-blown MDK on our hands. Let's Scooby-Doo this! Episode 6, The Suspects. Fun fact, I never beat this one until making this video. Don't congratulate me all at once. We play as a detective trying to find out who put Angie on ice. There's a lot to do and we've got a time limit. But we can earn some extra time by choosing our words smartly with the superintendent, Frank. However, this serves less as a helpful perk and more as something we need to complete all the necessary tasks. Another new character is Duke. He's our partner on this case and also Frank's nephew. We'll be seeing a lot of him as we go. The first thing I did was go to the crime scene. We're able to click around for clues, but the only ones we really need are the tire iron, wrist abrasions, and bracelet, which has TLB engraved on it. I thought about all the character names we know so far and quickly realized it stands for Ted Loves Bridget. I went to the papers next and read the 2 relevant stories. The rest are literally just there to waste your time. From here, I investigated Angie's apartment. Really, the only thing of note is that her computer was missing from the dock. I went to leave and this happened.
Hello?
This scared the crap out of me because I was under the impression that I was alone. Why are you two just quietly hanging out in your dead neighbor's apartment? Anyway, this bickering old couple are Mr. and Mrs. Tart. Most of the information they offer is stuff we already know, but I brought up the bracelet and Mr. Tart insists it isn't Angie's.
What would you know, you silly old goat?
She doesn't wear flashy stuff like that.
Don't listen to him. He's blind as a bat. He still hasn't noticed my hair.
I noticed, to be sure. Just saw no sense in bringing it up.
I haven't changed my hairstyle in 30 years. You see what I'm saying?
Like I said, just saw no sense in bringing it up.
Okay, enough of that. Next, I went to interview Angie's coworker, Dr. Russell. This smug prick isn't much help, but he insinuates that Helen might have taken Angie out.
A man in her life. Yes, she was having an affair with Hartrop's lawyer, Yale. Maybe his wife caught wind of it.
He actually implies guilt against multiple people throughout the series, while in the presence of authority figures, and nobody says anything. Before we can talk to Yale, Duke comes by to announce that Angie was pregnant, making the case a double homicide. He strongly suspects Ted is the perp and makes it his mission to bring Ted in.
Hartrop's lawyer reported his car stolen last night, and patrol just called saying they found the car 100 yards from Hartrop's apartment. And guess what? The tire iron's missing. Ain't that a coinky-dink?
Continuing my investigation, I head over to see Yale, who offers some interesting revelations.
I know she was working on a controversial paper which might make some boys at Somaplex unhappy, but not enough to kill her.
Somaplex is the pharmaceutical company Helen's father Rolf is partnered with. The paper was on a product called Paxwig that supposedly makes you super chill and docile. However, it apparently turned the patients into zombies pretty much.
Hamsters in a cage is the way I think she put it. Aware that they've lost their liberty, but unable to connect the dots as to how it occurred. It's pretty scary from a civil liberties point of view. She was planning to take it to the media and the regulators and block the use of the drug in prisons. I wouldn't be surprised if someone at the drug company might have wanted her dead.
While leaving the premises, we're accosted by Duke, who proudly announces he's caught Ted. But I still have 12 hours to wrap up my investigation, so shut up. My next stop is Bridget's house, and her mom answers the door with a freaking double-barreled shotty.
I ain't got much use for the fuzz. What do you want to know?
When asked about the bracelet, she explains that Bridget gave it to Ted as a gift, but she told Bridget to take it back the night Ted was arrested. I ask about Ted, and she says she hasn't heard from him in months.
My girl's romancing a good man now. A man with money. A man with position. She's gonna do good this time. I expect you'll find him with her new man. There was a picture of him and her in a paper today. Rolf Klink is his name. You go check that out. You'll see.
After checking the headline, which I already did, Frank says my job is done since Duke nabbed Ted already. But I let him know I don't think Ted did it since he has an alibi due to the pizza receipt I found at his apartment. I forgot to record that part, sorry. I then mentioned Angie's paper as a potential motive for Rolf, and that Bridget not only had the bracelet but is also dating Rolf.
That's some mighty fine police work. So let's have a chat with Clink and the ex-wife. Duke, I want you to assist and do whatever you're told. There's still hope that you might learn something.
On to episode 7, the interrogation. This is where the fun begins. Turns out Rolf and Bridget were attending a political fundraiser on the night Angie got whacked.
The provocative affair of the mind, of ideas, what?
Take a cold shower, lover boy, and keep your eyes on your plate.
Our two enemies are taxes and government regulation. Both can be slaughtered by inspiring fear in the general population. A nation in fear is a nation willing to accept drastic measures.
In the present, we have to talk to Bridget, who's the only attendee of the dinner without an alibi.
Oh boy, I can see you're a person on a mission. So are you interested in the truth, or acquiring enough evidence to ensure a conviction?
I'm pretty rattled, Bridget. I peed myself on the way here.
You're not as rattled as I am. This is absurd to be dragged out of my home like a common criminal. Let's get this over with. What do you want to know?
I ask about her relationship with Ted, and she makes some heavy allegations.
Ted is a violent man. He's extremely dangerous. He's a cold-blooded killer, but he can be very charming and deceptive. He beat me throughout our marriage, but nobody believed me. He's crazy.
When I ask about the bracelet, she not only corroborates her mother's story, but expands on it at length.
I gave it to him when we were dating. When we split, I asked for it back. I kept it in a box up in my room. Then I started getting these hellish nightmares, visions of torture and desperosity. When Ted escaped, he called and said he wanted it back, and it was then I realized that the nightmares were coming from that bracelet. I left it under the mat on the stairs of his apartment. It's an evil token. But look, I'm scared to death. Ted is going to escape again, and the next dead person is going to be me. Please, I'm begging you. I need police protection.
She instantly points the finger at Ted, offering the following explanation.
Obviously, I didn't see him do it. But banging a woman over the head with a tire iron is certainly in character. He's mean-spirited, violent, and anti-feministic.
I explained that the tire iron was from a stolen car, and Ted's alibi clears him from the time window.
So maybe he didn't steal the car. Maybe he just stole the tire iron. Didn't you say the car was found outside his apartment?
No, actually. I never said that.
So he ate his pizza and left his apartment at, let's say, 11:30. Grabbed a tire iron out of the first car he saw, which just happened to be a stolen car, and went down to the lake, where he ran into that woman.
I confront her about the detail of where the car was parked, and she admits to being the one who did it.
All right, yeah, I parked it outside his apartment. So what? How was I to know he stole it? I thought it was his.
By her account, she stepped away from the dinner to have a smoke. Helen flew past in her car, then got out and started walking down the lakeside in hysterics. Shortly after, Ted pulls up in Yale's car with Yale in the passenger seat. Yale exits his car, gets in Helen's, and starts looking for her. Helen crosses the street to get away from him, and he follows her over, driving slowly on the wrong side of the road, and they start arguing. Ted gets out of Yale's car, grabs the tire iron from the trunk, and runs after Yale screaming. Helen gets in the car with Yale, and they speed off with Ted still chasing them on foot. Bridget then decides to steal the car Ted was driving because he owes her child support, but her conscience kicked in and she left it at his apartment. Very believable story. Episode 8, The Interrogation Part 2.
Look, all I can tell you is you've just scratched the surface. It's not as simple as you think. If you want to really know what happened, you should talk to the black dude.
As we're trying to talk to Bridget, Ted starts singing Amazing Grace in a cell down the hall.
I'm not saying another word unless you give me full immunity. Ted, shut the hell up! Sorry,
Bridget,
what did you...
Is that you?
Yes, it's me, you crazy fool! Now be quiet! Sorry.
Was blind,
Would you shut him up?
now
I can't hear myself think.
So now I gotta walk down the Hall of Horrors just to tell this man to be quiet.
The hour I first believed.
No matter what you choose here, he ignores you and keeps singing.
Through many dangers, toils, and snares.
Hello, Ted.
Long time no see, Bridget. What's up?
I'm a little weary of all the questions. But apart from that, I'm okay. How are you?
What are you doing to me, Bridget?
Ted, I want you to tell the truth about the murder.
I didn't kill anyone, and you know it. This whole thing's been a setup from the beginning. She doped me and spread blood all over my apartment and stole the kids. She's a cold-blooded, manipulative liar.
I don't need this. Can I go now?
I remind her of Ted's alibi, and she spins a story about Yale being at Ted's apartment with him before they went after Helen.
I polished off a 40-pounder, babe. Even I need more than 10 minutes to knock one of those puppies back. You should talk to my lawyer, Yale Johnson. He'll back me up. I never saw him that night.
Shut up, loser!
Duke pops in and questions my interrogation methods, and I'm like, Bridget starts acting like Ted grabbed her, and I stop Duke from interfering to expose her antics.
Don't look at me. I warned you she was fruitier than a case of oranges.
I'm not saying anything more without immunity and witness protection.
I tell her I don't think she's innocent and that she parked the car at Ted's to frame him for the hit. She concedes as much, failing to realize that, in doing so, she just confessed to having knowledge of it beforehand.
So the only way you would have known there was a murder to frame me with is if you had something to do with it, baby.
Oh, please. I'm just a pawn. It was Yale working for Rolf. I knew it was going down, but there was nothing I could do about it. You were right about them silencing the shrink's criticism of the drug.
Oh. What's going on? Is this a joke? Get me out of this.
This mystery is like an onion. The more layers I peel away, the more it burns my eyes. Episode 9, The Marriage Counselor. Probably my least favorite, and I'll explain why in a moment. Bridget's recollection of events differs considerably from Yale, so I need to speak to he and his wife and find out who's lying. To pull this off, I go undercover as a marriage counselor. Big problem though. This is stupid. I already interviewed Yale. How does he not recognize me? Anyway, here's why this episode is my least favorite. There's a new mechanic where you have to manually interrupt other characters to get to the dialogue options. However, if you fail 3 times, you can hit the help button to let Duke take over and basically simulate the whole thing for you. I made multiple attempts, and this stupid game ran me around in circles every time. So I finally caved and let Duke take the floor. The irony here is that it probably makes sense for him to do it, since I don't think Yale and Helen know who he is.
I left the office at about 11:30 and discovered that my car was missing.
He's a lying, cheating son of a bitch, and I would... We're gonna get nowhere fast, ma'am, if you attack him like that.
Oh, please. Has that ever occurred to you that it may be healthy and cathartic to personally attack that creep?
Okay, hang on a minute. Yale, would you mind if I had a word with your wife in private?
Hello? What are you asking him for permission to speak with me for? He's not my master.
Okay, sorry. Can you and I speak in private for a moment? Sheesh.
Sure, follow me.
Careful not to say something you'll later regret.
Helen actually corroborates Bridget's story, except for Ted being there. She says Yale falsely reported his car as stolen, and she thinks he's the one who did Angie in.
I fingered him for a bad dude. Don't you worry, I'll watch your back. Now let's get back in there before he splits. Helen, how long did you know about your husband's affair?
I suspected the minute I saw her. She had it coming to her.
Whoa, that's a bit strong, geez.
She was. It was her naivety that she could take on a big drug company that did her in.
Yale, are you suggesting that someone at Somaplex was responsible for the murder?
Dude, what marriage counselor would ask a question like this? That should have sent their hackles up big time. So this goes on for a while, and we really don't learn much that's new or useful. But the topic eventually swings back to that fateful night.
Helen, what would he have to do to regain your trust?
He needs to stop lying.
I'm not lying.
Your car wasn't stolen from your office.
No, but it was stolen.
Yeah, it was stolen at the scene of the murder. Did you kill her?
No, you know I didn't. Ted's ex-wife killed her and stole my car.
How do you know she killed her?
As Helen told Duke in private, Yale rode his bike back to his car, but he claims it was missing when he got there. Upon searching the immediate area, he found Angie by the lake and naturally panicked. The reason Yale lied to the cops is because he knew he'd be the prime suspect. After all, he was having an affair with the victim, which could be seen as a motive. These two bicker on and on for a while until Yale basically bribes Helen with the diamond pendant.
Maybe you think I'm shallow for accepting it. I want to be married, even to him. I want to believe that everything's okay. Because when I believe that, I'm happy. The truth more often than not will make you miserable. We only live once, and I'm one of the lucky ones. So thank you for all your help.
I'd say I'm done. Mission accomplished.
What an annoying episode. Okay, that's pretty creepy. Episode 10, The Trial Part 1. The longest of the series, it gives us an optional courtroom recap of Episode 1 onward. There's also a scene selection like DVD menus had back then. While it's pretty much a necessity due to the episode's length, I'm very grateful it was added. Fair warning, we get into some serious shark jumping territory with this one. It's like Shyamalan and Perry joined forces. Apparently, nobody knew Angie was a Jedi as her Force ghost appears to encourage us.
You must avenge my death. Bridget is on trial, but she didn't kill me. You must defend her. To win, you must uncover the real killer, but be careful. If he thinks you're getting close, he'll strike again.
So yeah, everyday stuff. The prosecutor makes the case that Bridget was behind the crime, arguing that she hates Ted so much she broke into his place, stuck him with the Paxwick and put dynamite on him, all in the hopes that he'd detonate the charge on himself or get blasted by the cops. Great plan. However, when Ted was put on trial, Angie started getting a wee bit too close to uncovering Bridget's secret. Thus, she had to be silenced. Permanently. As Bridget's defense attorney, it's my job to uncover the truth and prove she's innocent. My first witness is Bridget's mother. After many failures throughout an exasperating exercise in trial and error, I was able to learn that she doesn't think highly of Rolf.
'Cause I know a snake when I sees one. It's in his eyes.
My girl's romancing a good man now. A man with money. A man with position. She's gonna do good this time.
Yeah, well, that may be a pillar of the community, but that don't make him any gentleman.
Objection! Sustained. Counselor, I respect that you have cautioned your witness.
A real gentleman would give her a diamond, not that other stuff.
Order! Madam, this court is not a forum for your grievances. Kindly restrict your remarks to the questions posed to you. Counselor, do you have any further questions?
I ask what gives and this happens.
What gives? I'll tell you what gives. He gave her dope and dynamite, that's what.
Order! Madam, that is an incredible accusation. Did you actually witness Mr. Clink give?
No, I never, but Bridget told me.
Then your testimony is hearsay and not admissible. The jury will disregard...
It's true. The whole thing was his idea. He set her up.
Order! The jury will disregard. Strike the testimony from the record.
Interesting stuff, but it really doesn't help our case here. The next morning, we put Dr. Russell on the stand.
He may know how Bridget got a hold of the Paxwick. Good luck.
This is the only helpful thing she says. We get into some crazy, dangerous situations and she's nowhere to be seen. Worst spirit guide ever. I ask who might have had access to Angie's computer that went missing.
There was, of course, that weaselly police detective Duke somebody or other. I discovered him lurking about the laboratory the odd evening leading up to the murder. Apparently, his presence was sanctioned by the higher-ups at Somaplex, but I thought it odd. Obviously, as a policeman, he would have had access to her apartment after the murder. Just a thought.
Yeah, he's still doing this coy implication bullcrap. It was bad enough to do it in front of a detective, but in a courtroom? I ask why he thinks the higher-ups sanctioned Duke's visit, and the prosecutor's like, hold up now.
Counsel is imputing the credibility of a police officer by furiously inventing some sort of conspiracy.
Sustained. Counsel, I hope you realize that you are paddling into some very dangerous waters here. Call your next witness, and if you can provide this court with legitimate testimony to back this line of questioning, I will let it proceed. However, I'm warning you, if this is simply a fishing expedition, I'll haul your canoe out of the water and spank you with the paddle.
This judge should be a battle rapper.
Call Ted Hartrup.
Your Honor, it pains me to inform the court that he escaped 35 minutes ago.
Oh, not again. What's wrong with you people?
Order. Counselor, I will not tolerate another outburst from your
How
client.
many times does he have to escape and make fools of you before you reevaluate your procedures?
Mrs. Hartrup, one more outburst from you and I'll hold you in contempt.
I'm sorry. I'm sure you're just as incredible as I am.
The word is incredulous, and stop! Who's your next witness? Oh, I might have guessed.
Call Bridget Hartrup.
So Bridget gets up and decides to kinda hilariously troll the court.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God?
I pray to you, almighty and merciful Jesus, that you will shine a light through me into the darkness of this courtroom, and illuminate the way and the truth through my words.
A simple I do will suffice, Mrs. Hartrup.
Could you please repeat the oath so that there's no confusion to what I'm saying I do to?
Bridget is so annoying, but she's my second favorite character behind Ted. Admittedly not a high bar to clear. In any event, why the dynamite and beet juice?
I assumed he'd get arrested immediately, and the order forcing me to give him the kids would get reversed. He's a dangerous man, and I don't trust him with the kids, and the law's a fool.
Mrs. Hartrup, any more slurs about the law and you'll be in contempt.
I'm sorry, Judge, but you have to understand a mother has to protect her
Mrs.
children.
Hartrup, stop the editorializing and just answer the question.
I just want the jury to understand that I was protecting
Silence!
my children.
Mrs. Hartrup,
Yes?
you are trying my patience.
I'm sorry.
Okay, how'd you subdue Ted?
I gave him a powerful tranquilizer.
Was it Paxwick?
Why are you asking me that? You're supposed to be asking me questions about what I was doing that night and how the bracelet got there.
Counselor, do you need a moment to consult with your client?
I asked the judge for a 10-minute recess, which he begrudgingly grants.
What the heck are you doing? You're supposed to make me look good, not drag me through the whole nightmare of rescuing my kids from that maniac.
Shut up. Tell me where you got the illicit goods right now.
I got it from a friend, and it wasn't Rolf Klink, so you're barking up the wrong tree totally. Ted killed that woman, and now he's loose, and my kids are in danger. What are you gonna do about that?
I didn't notice until after, but this makes no sense. Remember, she confessed to knowing about the hit before it happened. Even if she doesn't know exactly who pulled the strings, she knows it's connected to Somaplex. So why is she back to saying Ted did it? Lady, what kind of friends you got?
Someone who is obviously more resourceful than you are.
Bragging about how smart I am seems to hit a nerve with her.
Oh my goodness, if you're so intelligent, why are you asking questions that will get you killed?
I tell her she's not as smart as she thinks she is, and she alludes to something quite sinister.
Oh really? Do you think it's just a coincidence that Ted is loose again? He's loose because there's about to be another murder.
How do you know all this stuff?
And guess who the victim is going to be this time?
Court's back in session. Let's go.
On the way back, I tell Bridget I'm 2 moves from checkmate, and Angie returns to basically say I'm on a good track.
That is very bold. I hope you know what you're doing.
2 moves from checkmate. All right, go ahead.
All rise. This court is back in session.
Counsel, do you wish to resume questioning your client?
I request to add Duke as a witness, and the prosecutor cries some more, but the judge honors it.
You can put Detective Crabtree on the stand tomorrow morning. But if you throw mud without advancing your case, you'll be digging your own grave.
After leaving the parking garage elevator, I run into Ted of all people. Before I can even say anything, I get ambushed in a drive-by attempt. I tell him he should turn himself in, but he says he can't because God sent him on a mission and he needs my help with it. Switching tactics, I tell him Satan might have rigged my car, so we should go on foot like Moses.
You're right. We should go by foot. Oh, Lord.
Turns out the 2 ladies in the elevator were hit by stray bullets. The assailant dished the weapon while fleeing, and Ted picks it up to try and take me hostage.
I've got nothing to lose now. I've got to get my kids and you're going to help me.
I tell him I think I was the target and he was set up as the fall guy. I convince him to go find shelter with someone who can give him an alibi and make my way out.
All right, good luck, little buddy.
I decide to tell Jim what happened and he says he'll go down with me to check it out. I address the probability of Ted having inside help, and Jim had this to say.
You know what I think? I think you're a pinko socialist agitator who's poking around where you don't belong.
What? That is completely out of left field. What the frick is a pinko?
So where did this alleged murder take place?
Yeah, there's no way I can trust this guy. So I tell him I was tripping and I'm just gonna catch a cab.
That's a good idea. Let's get back in the elevator and I'll get you a cab. You ought to keep your nose clean.
Excuse me?
Nobody likes conspiracies.
Okay.
You take care now.
Resuming my duties like nothing happened, I asked Duke what he was doing at Somaplex.
I was at the lab investigating a complaint of corporate espionage and leaked formulas to Somaplex's competitor.
He says he thinks the head of security lodged the complaint, but he didn't interview them. I ask if he knows their name and he balks at me without answering. The judge is like, dude, let's move on.
Or would you like a moment to call the company and find out the name for yourself?
I would like the witness to answer my question.
I'm confused. What was the question?
Why are you gay?
With the strategic lie, I'm able to expose Duke's ill-conceived lie.
I already told you. Yes, I interviewed the head of security.
Got him. Spot him. Red dot him.
Not sure how that would play out in real life, but whatever. From here, I ask if he kept a record of the interview in his notebook, and he keeps changing his story. First, he says he doesn't think so. Then he says he probably did. Then he's like, fine, I made a note, but I don't have my notebook here. Suspicious. He says he'll need 24 hours, 24 hours to get his notebook. Understandably, the judge is pretty vexed, but I insisted to prove that Duke is lying about why he was at Somaplex.
Objection! Overruled.
Even the judge makes note of Duke's shifty answers.
Defense counsel has made some very serious allegations against you. I assume you would like to discredit with the production of your notebook. You'll have the notebook tomorrow morning. Good. Court is adjourned until tomorrow morning.
You're not listening. My wife and daughter were here yesterday. They were dressed like this.
How do you expect me to identify them under something like that?
They did not come home. Something bad has happened.
How's it going? Ow! You moron! What do you think you're doing?
I ask why he's doing this, and he replies with the most iconic line in the whole series.
Because I'm a terrorist.
For one reason or another, people ate this up. Zapdramatic had a resurgence in popularity in the early to mid-2010s, over a decade after Ambition began. And during that time, people couldn't get enough of Duke and this stupid line, particularly on Tumblr. I'll be honest, I never understood why. To me, there are funnier, crazier, and more memorable lines, but I guess there was just something about it. So to the handful of people rolling on the floor right now,
you are welcome!
Duke takes us to a quarry holding possibly the same tire iron that was found near Angie.
Alright, smarty pants, figure this. Why do so many smart people wind up dead? Dr. Raleigh suffered from the same problem you do. Ambition.
Now's a fair time to mention that, yeah, the word ambition pops up numerous times throughout the series, but I don't think it's gratuitous. It's just enough to establish a theme without becoming too cheesy. Anyway, it's pretty obvious Duke is the killer. I decide to ask if he is ambitious.
No, I'm not. I'm a public servant. My job is to clear away garbage like you and that shrink, who try to get famous by standing in the way of progress.
So, Duke isn't some evil mastermind, nor is he a calculated assassin. He's just a bumbling dork doing what he's told. Ambition fans.
Is this your game?
To avoid becoming the next victim, I offer to withdraw my question about the notebook and paint Yale as the culprit.
Just a minute. What, do you think I'm stupid and let you run off? Come here. Okay, let's go.
What's the problem?
There's no problem. The lawyer wants to withdraw the question about the notebook and pin everything on Yale Johnson.
Yale Johnson is my son-in-law, and he's innocent.
I insist that the evidence points strongly to Yale, but Rolf still wants to frame Ted. I tell him he shouldn't do that because Ted is lucky, which is a completely brain-dead assertion. You could say the whole mattress thing was luck, but what else? One, even if Angie lived and his trial concluded, he totally would have still gone to prison. Two, both of his escapes were police-assisted due to them needing a fall guy, so there's no reason to assume he can do it on his own. And since they've already apprehended him a third time, he's clearly not even good at evading them. 3, the first frame attempt failed because Bridget screwed herself out of an alibi. If she just stayed in her seat the whole night, Ted would have gone down. And the second frame attempt isn't going to work because, well, I need to get to the ending, but in universe, it's because I'm a really savvy attorney. Either way, I don't buy it as luck, but Rolf is very superstitious and ticks up my offer.
Very well. If you segue out of this business with Detective Crabtree's notebook and paint Yale as the most likely killer, I think we'll have a win-win solution. Duke, please ensure this lawyer gets home safely.
I don't know if I call it a plot hole, but I noticed a peculiarity while editing. Rolf was initially unwilling to sacrifice Yale, but willing to sacrifice Bridget? I mean, it's realistic, but it comes off as an oversight instead of an intentional demonstration of his coldness.
Let's go.
So Duke drives me home and we're back in court the next morning.
Detective Crabtree, do you have your notebook?
Yes, sir.
Very well. Counselor, you may resume your questions.
As agreed upon, I shift to a different line of questioning and the judge is none too pleased.
Counselor, the trial was delayed a full day because you wanted Detective Crabtree to produce his notebook and inform this court about the name of the head of security at Somaplex.
Yeah, well, I changed my mind, alright?
Oh, for heaven's sake! Counselor, you have wasted enough time in this courtroom. You have 1 hour to wrap up your case.
I asked if there was anything strange about Yale's car.
Yes, it was reported stolen, but the keys were in it.
This matches what Yale told us as well. With that, I call him as a witness.
I had a brief discussion with Dr. Alley, and she left the office around 11:30 p.m. About the same time that my wife arrived, actually. Helen and I decided to go home and get some Chinese food. When I looked for my car, I discovered that it was stolen, so I went to the police to report it.
After some quick establishing questions, he tells us why he lied to the cops.
I was afraid the insurance wouldn't cover the loss if they knew the keys were left in the car.
Order!
I then bring up the abrasions on her wrist.
I broke off our relationship and she was upset. She tried to hit me and I restrained her. I would never hurt her.
Next, I ask about their affair and if he knew she was pregnant.
Yes.
Order!
I didn't kill her. I liked her very much. She was a friend. I would never, ever hurt her.
Do I presume correctly that at this point the defense rests?
Hell yeah!
Do you wish to cross-examine? No, Your Honor. Very good. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it is now time for you to begin your deliberations. You have heard from the prosecution that Mrs. Hartrump's motive.
Do you think we're gonna win?
Hell no!
Of course I say yes.
I hope you're right.
They're back. That's the fastest deliberation I've ever seen.
Already? Is that a good sign?
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have you reached a unanimous decision?
Yes, we have.
Would the defendant please rise? In the charge of murder, how do you find?
Not guilty, Your Honor.
You're a genius. You did it.
That effect is so bad, dude.
Hey, big fella. You're under arrest for the murder of Dr.
I didn't kill her.
Yeah, save it for the jury.
Congratulations, you won the case. The only problem is that based on your argument, they will convict the wrong man. We both know now that Yale did not do it.
Unfortunately for us, and fortunately for others I'm sure, we end on a permanent cliffhanger. Contrary to what's on screen, this series was never completed. But if you ask me, that contributes to the intrigue. With that said, the actual experience on offer here can be pretty clunky. Most of the solutions are unintuitive to the point of feeling like I'm on another planet. It's not about actually looking for clues and doing what makes the most sense with the information you have. It's basically this.
My responses are limited. You must ask the right questions.
The unique choices you select during your playthrough won't really impact how things develop. The only reason to do it once you've learned the correct path is to just see the different dialogue options, some of which contain valuable information but lead to a game over. That's a douchebag move, Mr. Gibson. But for as ham-fisted, silly, and preposterous as it gets, I got invested in the story and it's held a place in my heart. I've yet to come across anything else quite like it. Closest you might get is... There are some objective problems though. The typos are one thing, but there's also character inconsistency. Like in episode 9, Helen's appalled at Yale for seemingly implying her dad was involved with the killing, only to suggest it herself moments later, and Yale gets appalled. All the characters are trash to one degree or another, but I think that opens up some interesting avenues. I almost kind of appreciate that there isn't a hero in the story. One definite positive is the voice actors. They all do a great job, especially considering the offbeat dialogue they're given. Upon researching, the only one with a film background is Michael Gibson himself, who deserves mention for his impressive range. He plays multiple characters that sound nothing alike. Even though this story never got a proper ending, I could see something like this actually happening. Justice isn't always served. Cases aren't always wrapped up in a bow with all questions answered. Sometimes the truth is only uncovered decades later, and sometimes not at all. This episodic series and the website it's hosted on are still up to date, which is seriously rare for stuff like this. So if you want to pay a visit and try some of these yourself, the link is in the description. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you liked the video, stay tuned. I got videos on some more Flash games coming. I'll be talking about old movies and TV shows. It's gonna be fun.